Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Ray Garcia, the Executive Director of the College Scholarship Leadership Access Program, CSLAP, and I am about to host a panel on post-college. Here at CSLAP, we focus on what it means to get to college, what does it mean to go to and through college. This is a panel of recent college graduates, all from the Rio Grande Valley, who are going to give their testimony about what it meant to transition from college graduates into young professionals. So Yesenia, do you want to give a brief introduction to yourself?
Certainly. So hi, everyone. My name is Yesenia Delgado. I went to PSJ North High School, and I graduated in class of 2013. I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with a Bachelor's of Science in Arts in Biology and Education. And I graduated from UT in 2017. And currently, I'm in my fourth year of medical school at McGovern Medical School at the Texas Medical Center.
Hey, Thomas. My name is Gerardo Garza, but everyone calls me Jerry. So just like Yesenia, I went to PSJ High School, class of 2013. I went to Texas A&M University, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering, class in 2017. Right now, I'm an engineer at the Boeing Company, which is the largest aerospace company in the world.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Guajardo. I am a graduate of PSJ Memorial Wolverines, class of 2012. Attended Harvard University, graduated in 2016 with a BA in economics. Currently, I am a senior associate with a company called Heidrick & Struggles. We're an executive search company, and I can talk more about that later.
Just by hearing where you guys went to college and what you guys are doing now, it sounds really amazing. What has always amazed me is that pathway between graduating college, getting a degree, and actually going out into the workforce and into graduate school, becoming a young professional. So the first question I want to ask you guys is, how did you get where you are today? Can you explain your pathway from college to your current professional endeavor?
Yeah, so I kind of always knew I wanted to do something in like the field of health. I think I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. So my freshman year, I started looking at resources that my college provided for me. And I found this one program called JAMP, and it was basically kind of like a bridging program. It bridged college to med school, and you got to start earlier. So they had like internships for you, and they had courses that you can take, and shadowing opportunities, all those kinds of things. So I spoke to a counselor, I applied for it, I didn't get in, which was fine. I still wanted to be a doctor, that's fine. But then life happened, and sometime my junior year, they called me back and said that they had opened a spot up, and they asked me if I wanted it, and of course I took it. And yeah, so that's how I ended up at McGovern Medical School.
So my pathway, I wish it was exciting, but it's not. It's pretty simple, but I'll tell you for sure, it was not a walk in the park. There was a bunch of obstacles and a bunch of rocks that prohibited me from doing it smoothly. But just like Yesenia was saying, me, I also wanted to be an engineer. I like science, I like math, physics, and Yesenia can attest because we were in the same classes. But when I was applying to college, I was looking at all the engineering majors, and aerospace was the first one. Like, aerospace. That sounds cool, space stuff, Mars, all these things just starting going through my mind. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'll go for it. So I go in. Of course, it's very difficult. I think it's one of the most difficult majors out there. I think it tops probably petroleum and chemical, so it's up there. But for me, being an aerospace engineering student at A&M, everyone wants to work for the Boeing Company. It's the best company to work for if you're an aerospace engineer, because we deal with, we're in the defense sector, we're in the commercial sector, space as well. So right now I'm in St. Louis. So St. Louis is the defense headquarters for the Boeing Company. So that's where they do the F-18s, F-15s. That's where the space capsules for the Mercury program were built. So all the way back to the 70s, right? So we have a lot of history with space and aerospace. So why not work for a company like that, right? We're building cool stuff. So I actually wanted to enter with them when I was a sophomore. I applied, didn't get an interview. Junior year, I applied, I got an interview, didn't get either. Third time with the charm. So I went to a career fair. I talked to recruiters, pitched myself, everything went great. And then on the Wednesday night, I got a phone call. Hey, we want to interview you tomorrow morning. I'm like, okay, fine. So that same night, I'm going through resumes. I'm going online. What do Boeing recruiters ask in interview questions? Just piling up questions and me answering them. And then the next day, Thursday morning, I interview. And then 5 hours later, I got a job offer. Like, it was that quick. So I graduated with a job offer before graduating college. So that was a good thing to know, right? Because I had friends that were at the very end of college and they didn't have any jobs. And like, they were pretty worried. And me, on the other hand, I was safe. You can call it that. But that's how I ended up at the Boeing company. So before graduating college, I was flown to Seattle, Puget Sound, and that's where I did kind of a dating match with hiring managers. And I had the choice between going to St. Louis, California, or staying in Puget Sound. Well, I didn't want to live in a high cost living area in California. I don't want to live in Puget Sound, Seattle, which rains a lot. So I was like, well, I'll do with the Midwest. It's close to Chicago, close to Nashville, close to Kansas City. It's very centralized, and it's about 17 hours away from home, which is not bad compared to Seattle and California.
So in terms of my current pathway, or my pathway to my current professional endeavor, so I wish I could say that there were no bumps in the road and I just, skated through Harvard, got all A's and landed feet first and got a job. But that's not what happened. So I came into Harvard, with my eyes wide open, and I had a lot of hope, and I did very, very poorly my freshman year in terms of grades. So I had a big sort of coming to earth, and I had a big refocusing. So at first I wanted to focus on an English degree, and my dream, and it still is my dream, is to write and to write short stories specifically. But I refocused because I realized that what I was aiming for wasn't what I was built to do academically. So I refocused, and I decided to focus on economics, and I really took to it. I turned my grades around by junior year. I was doing very, very well. And I had sort of a dream job. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a company called Bain & Company. But I had a dream job. I told myself I'm going to work for this company, and I could already picture myself with the big letters, PAIN, in the background. Studied hard for it's a consulting job. Studied hard for the consulting interview, and I thought I aced it. They get back to me and say, sorry, but no, thank you. So as I'm trolling the job fairs, I see a company called Heidrick & Struggles. So Heidrick & Struggles is an executive search company. And what we do, and I'm so glad I found it, we talk to executives every day. And they pitched it to me, and it sounded like the coolest thing in the world. And I was like, wow, I'm built for this. So that became my new dream job. And thankfully, applied, and much like Jerry, I went, they flew me out to Houston because really I was looking to come back to Texas. And much like Jerry, after they flew me out, they had an offer, within the next week. So I was able to get an offer my senior fall, and I've been employed with them ever since.
You all sound really, really busy. So I want to get into what post-college life is like. Oftentimes students graduate with a degree and they're wondering, what do I do now? What is life like now without this structure in college? First question I wanted to ask about that is, what do you enjoy most about your post-college life?
What I enjoy most is actually, I guess it's a little different for me because I know the other guys have jobs after college. For me, I had more school after college. So life's a little different, and I think it's difficult to relate to my peers because just the pathway to being a physician is kind of different. But I think that I find joy in actually learning about things that are relevant, right? So like I'm learning about things that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So I think that's the most interesting part. The other thing that is kind of cheesy, but it's so true, is just kind of like learning more about myself, right? So I don't know, I think just like going through the struggles of med school, you have to, I don't know, you have to figure out who you are, right? And you fall and you get back up. And I guess in retrospect, maybe because I'm about like towards the end of my medical school career, I look back and I really have grown so much. And I love it. Like I feel confident in my skin, and I think I'm ready to be a doctor. You know, I'm ready for this. I'm hungry and I want it. So yeah, I think just figuring myself out and then just actually being in the field that I love, doing things that I love is probably the most fun for me.
Yeah, me myself, going back to what you said, I've grown a lot since high school. And in high school, I was a quiet one. I can say this. I was very quiet, right? She's nodding her head right now. But through those 4 years of college and then 2 years that I've been working as a professional, you know, I've put myself out there to be someone who can talk to people, network. I've grown a lot individually, professionally, personally. So I've seen a lot of changes that made a lot of good impact in my life. But I'll say that one of the things that I do enjoy most after post college is that you know, the ability to give back to the community. So in St. Louis, I'm very involved with the Hispanic community. I do run a nonprofit. It's called the Society of Hispanic First Engineers, the St. Louis Professional Chapter. So we're always doing events for students. We're always doing volunteering work. We're always trying to see how we can help the Hispanic community, because you want to see the next generation of Hispanics, you know, be the next engineers, mathematicians, doctors, and stuff like that. And the other thing that I do enjoy the most is I have money. I can do whatever I want, as long as it's legally, and I have to one more, right? So I'm not restricted by, oh, I can't afford this. I can't take a trip here once in a while. But having an income does help a lot, because I'm also able to help out my family at the same time and pay it back to what they've given back to me when I was in college.
So when I think about what I enjoy the most about post-college life, you know, ever since I was little, there was always some big unobtainable goal or some big goal to work for. You know, I'm in high school, I'm going to get into an Ivy League college. I'm in college, I'm going to get all A's, I'm going to get a job. And then, you know, you get out of college, you get a job, and it's like, well, okay, you know, what's the next thing? Well, the next thing is really nice. So I think I'm a little older. I think I'm the same age as Thomas, but I'm a little older than some of the other people on the call. So I'm actually engaged. I met my beautiful fiance last year, and we were engaged New Year's of 6 months ago. I have a great dog. So basically, I'll echo what Jerry says and say the money is really nice, and the flexibility to do the things that you always dreamed about, you know, if you had the time and the money for when you're younger is really nice.
One question I wanted to ask about your post-college life is, what was the biggest obstacle you encountered when you were making that transition between undergraduate and your post-college life, and how did you overcome it?
So again, I'm still in school. So a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things have stayed the same. So for instance, the studying, it literally never stops, and it will probably never stop for me. And that's something that I've just accepted. So my answers might be very different than my peers, but that's okay. So one of the biggest obstacles post-college was learning how to study again, because med school, I'm sure everybody's heard the analogy that it's like drinking water from a fire hydrant. So you have a load of information, and yeah, you have resources, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out what works for you. So what works for me might not work for somebody else. And it's on yourself to figure it out. So I struggled a lot my first year in medical school, just trying to figure out how to retain so much information in a timely manner, right? So I failed my first med school exam because it was a lot, and that's okay. Like, that wasn't the end of it. I was super bummed, but it was a trial and error thing for me, right? So whatever I was doing for that first exam obviously wasn't working. So I just had to figure out something that worked for me. And honestly, I feel like just now at the beginning of my fourth year, I feel like I just now kind of got it down. Just kind of crazy, but it's just how life has worked for me. I guess another thing would be like learning when to reach out for help. Was another thing that I struggled with because, I've been Miss Independent, and college wasn't easy, but I felt like I had a good grip on it. And then I was put in this new environment and I did not have a grip on anything. So just kind of learning that it's okay to reach out for help, academically, emotionally, anything. It's fine. Like, you have to take care of yourself. That's your only job. If you want to take care of other people's, you have to make sure that you're okay. So yeah, I think those are the two things that I kind of struggled with starting med school.
Yeah, with me, just moving to a new state was an obstacle in itself, right? So I lived in Texas for up to my graduation year of college. So I've never ever lived in any other state in my life. I don't have any other family outside of Texas. Everyone's here in the Rio Grande Valley. So I mean, going up there, how do I register my car in a new state? What insurance plan do I have to get? And acclimate to the new weather. I don't have HEB. All those things. You think they're not very big issues, but they do become issues because you're now an adult. You're being more responsible into the things you're doing. So going back to what I said in the beginning is, going to a new state was an obstacle because I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any family up there. So I remember going to my first day at work. I literally have where I sit. Everyone's a PhD except me. I'm a bachelor. Everyone's a PhD. Everyone's smart. At the beginning, I was like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, and they're like, don't call me doctor. People don't do that here. I'm like, okay. I'm just used to the college life. But the good thing is that where I was hired in, there's a lot of young people around my age. So I was able to acclimate with them and meet friends. As I said in my last question, I also made the thing to also go out there and meet people, network, and make sure that I make friends. So it took a lot of effort just because I used to be in my shell, but I took the opportunity to go out there, break out of my shell and meet people. And right now I've met some of the most incredible people in my life, some of the smartest people, engineers in the world, some of the friends that I can now call family, because up there, your friends are family.
So I think the biggest obstacle that I had after graduating from college was finding a good work-life balance. And I don't want to sound like I'm BSing you guys and saying my biggest weakness is I work too hard. But no, there came a point, a year out of college where I was working, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I had literally, no friends that I kept up with. It was before I met Itzel, my fiance. So I had to take a good hard look at myself and be like, I've been working my whole life. Like, I'm working hard now. Is this what I'm going to do, for the rest of my life? And I had to sort of pause and reflect and be like, I think now's time to reap some of the stuff that I've built for myself because of the work I've put in when I was your guys' age. And I made a clear distinction between a work and life balance. And I'm always happy to have you guys pick my brain on something like that, because it's hard. It's hard to set a balance. But yeah, that was the hardest thing for me.
One aspect of your post-undergrad life I'd love to learn more about is what actions you took to professionalize yourself and get ready for this new lifestyle. Often at CSLAP, we emphasize that it's not just getting the grades and going to classes as an undergrad, but it's preparing in some concrete ways for the real world. So can you guys explain some actions you took to prepare and professionalize for the real world?
So I'm still not really part of the real world, but I can tell you guys a little bit about how I prepared for med school. So like Thomas said, yes, your grades are important and letters of rec and, being in a good standing academically, yes, that's super important. But something that I guess I believe more now is the fact that you have to be yourself. So let's say for med students, yeah, sure, everybody's smart. Everybody tries really hard. That's fine. But what med schools are looking for is for people that are going to bring in diversity, right? So I guess what I did to prepare was just make sure that I didn't lose track of the things that I really enjoyed doing, things that made me unique. So for instance, for me, that was like being active. So I joined intramurals. I did have marathons because those things actually kept me sane. And then I did things that, that I believed in. So I helped, I volunteered in clinics for like minorities, things like that, because I enjoyed that. And at the end of the day, that made me a little different. When med schools were reviewing my applications, I'm sure they thought that, this little girl's a little peculiar. She's a little different. Like, let's bring her in, right? Like, I made sure that whatever I put in my resume was really who I was, right? So like, yeah, my grades were fine, but I think the most important part of my resume would have been, the things that made me me.
Yeah, so going on what Sandy said is that a lot of companies now are hiring a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds just because that's the way work environment should be. So the way I prepare myself for post-college life is I was involved in, as I said, the nonprofit called Society of Professional Hispanic Engineers, or SHIP as it's called in college. So there are collegiate chapters, there's high school chapters also, professional chapters, and the St. Louis chapter is the one I run. But I was involved in the A&M chapter. And so when you join organizations like that, they're focused on minorities and engineering, they prepare you for the real world. So they do resume checkups, they teach you how to network, teach you how to interview. And so every year there's a big conference that happens for this organization. And it's called the SHIP National Convention. And all these companies, the big ones, they go in there and recruit. So last year I went with with the phone company I recruited. So we had about 1,000 people that applied, and we literally had like 300 job offers. So, and I mean, that's like a 33% chance if you get an interview. You have a higher chance of getting interviewed by the Boeing company than getting to Harvard. That's crazy when I saw the numbers. And so what I recommend, just like Christina was saying, is get involved in the community. Some of these will help you be more sane, do volunteering work, being involved in sports, but some of these organizations will also help you academically and professionally.
So I'm going to jump off of what everyone said and say the same thing, basically get involved. But I'll say it for another reason, and that's when I graduated from college, I didn't really know how to talk to adults. And what I mean by that is I didn't really know how to hold a conversation with someone that was, 5 to 10 to 20 years older than I am. And I think getting involved in those types of things, preparing for interviews, interacting with more people, and it sounds funny, but it's an actual skill that you need to have. You need to interact with people older than yourself in order to succeed in the real world. So getting involved in those types of things with the goal set to yourself of how is this helping me learn to interact with people with different backgrounds than myself, age-wise, I think is important.
Now that you all have been out of undergraduate for several years now, what would you do if you can go back in time and give one piece of advice to yourself right before graduating college?
I have two pieces of advice. The first one is practical. The second one is not that practical. But first off, this is something that my mom told me, and I stuck by it, and it's worked out wonderfully for me. So again, I did not have a job after college. I still don't have a job. So I had to learn how to really, really handle my finances. And I guess in college too, but I had more scholarships in college than I do now. So what I did is that I got 2 bank accounts. And in one of my bank accounts, I put some money in there, and it was like lost money. Like that money, nobody touches. I don't even think I have a debit card for it. But it works out for me because at the end of the year, when my loan money's getting a little low, I know that I have something to fall back on. So it's worked wonders for me. So I think that's a good thing to do. I think it's worked for me, so sure. The other thing would be to have fun. Like, you're young, and I know that you have like a lot of things ahead of you and a lot of things that you want to do. And sometimes it's stressful, but like, you have to like live in the now. So if you want to take a trip and you're worried about money, I mean, don't overdo it, but take the trip. Like, these are things that are going to make you feel better, and you're going to be refreshed, and you're going to be ready to take on more obstacles. So, take care of yourself. Take that trip. Buy that dress. Don't buy 5 dresses, but buy that 1 dress. It's fine. Dye your hair if you want to. Sure, no big deal. Like, now is the time to do it. So just enjoy yourself.
So I'll piggyback with what Jenny said. So when I was in college, I did a lot of on-nighters, and that was my fault just because I procrastinated a lot. So procrastination, don't do it. It's awful for your health and for grades sometimes. But definitely have fun. Enjoy college. College only comes once in a lifetime. You know, that's a place for you to learn and meet people, right? Because that you go to a new state after college, and then someone reaches out to you, hey, I have a business plan. You want to get into it, right? So making those connections early on is very important. Um, and also, you have a lot of time as a college student. Trust me. I don't have a lot of time. I'm also a full-time grad student doing full-time job, running nonprofits, and I can pretty much do more things than a college student, right? Because I know how to time manage myself. Going back to what I say right now, also make sure you know how to time manage your time effectively. But enjoy it. You know, college is once in a lifetime. Meet people. Take that trip once in a while. Just don't overspend it. You know, enjoy life.
Yeah, I guess I'll say two things. One is I wish I understood that tutoring and office hours in college aren't necessarily just for people who are struggling. Really, it's a way that you can get ahead. So that's a really specific piece of advice that would have helped me out a lot had I known that freshman or sophomore year. And the other is just jumping off what everyone's saying is that this is a time in your life where a lot of your needs are going to be met in terms of your housing and what you're going to eat, and you have a lot more time that you're going to have. So explore the different hobbies. Join chess club, join whatever club, and see if you have these interests, because I think that's when you find out what your interests are when you leave.
It's been a true pleasure to hear from all of you and your diverse experiences after graduating from college. And I would love for students, whether they're in high school or college right now, to have the chance to reach out to you to talk about anything, ranging from your college experience to your current young professional career life post-college. Is there a piece of contact information you guys like to share with the students that I can put on the screen right now so they can reach out to you with any questions they may have?
Yeah, I think you guys can follow my CSLAP profile. I think my contact info should be up to date, so feel free to reach out to me. I love it answering questions about anything. It could be about med school, it could be about life. Yeah, reach out to me.
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is, again, through my CSLAP profile. My email is there. I check it every day, so I'll make sure to reply to you that same day. I love mentoring students. I love giving back. I love answering questions. So if there's any way I can help, please reach out to me.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out to me through my CSLAP profile. My contact info is also up to date. And also feel free to reach out to me in regards to anything. And specifically, I'm a recruiter. So what I do is I interview people all day. So specifically, if there's anything I can do to help you prepare for interviews, that's what I'm best at. But feel free to reach out for anything.
Excellent. I really appreciate you all taking time out of your busy lives to help out students from the class of 2021 and even onward as they go through college and post-college. Again, CSLAP's all about mentorship, and I think the kind of mentorship you're giving to students now in perpetuity through this video will live on. And I hope to see you all again soon so we can see what life is like after med school, what life is like in the next couple of years at Boeing and in the corporate life post-Harvard. And maybe one day you'll publish your stories, Eric. I'd love to read them. Thank you again, everyone. This is Thomas Ray Garcia from CSLAP signing off. I will see you guys soon.